Hello everybody, and welcome to this week's video commentary of the Nordschleife. My very first lap around here, my first race lap around the Nordschleife in an attempt to try and get my A permit so that I can race bigger cars here one day. I'm in the BMW 240i Cup car. Specifically, I was meant to drive two cars in this weekend, a Porsche Cayman with a V6 and this BMW 240i Cup. This was my first real racing lap around here, but also my first full complete lap around here in the BMW, because prior to this I'd been doing everything in the Porsche. So we get to the start here. I didn't qualify the car. We're starting quite far back in the field, and if it looks slow, it's probably because it is. I was still trying to figure everything out. This car was super snappy and unpredictable. I did not like the feeling of the steering, and the brakes were very soft, not very much like a road car. So it was catching me out quite a bit, especially on the warm-up lap, and with cold tires I frankly had no idea what I was doing. So here, even though I'm cutting through the field against slightly slower cars, because it's a sort of a mixed class, it's mostly me just in a discovery lap, because prior to this it was intended that I was going to start in the Porsche, but they decided at the last minute that I would start in the BMW. So to add some difficulty to the game settings here, it's raining as well, and you'll see that I could not figure out how to demist the windscreen. So it's already starting to mist up after a 20-minute warm-up lap, and now I'm fighting through the field. Mostly my intention isn't actually to overtake 500 cars here. There goes a BMW off on the left. My intention is just to figure out where the grip is, and it just so happens that there were gaps and sort of cars that were moving out the way for me while I was making my way through the field. We started, I think, 24th in class, and at the end we finished 5th. So it was pretty good progress. We're still on the Grand Prix track here. The thing that will surprise you about driving one of these cars around the Nordschleife is that you have a lot of grip on the Nordschleife, but for some reason when we got onto the Grand Prix track in the Porsche and in the BMW, the grip was just completely gone. So without that feeling, I was really tiptoeing around in the wet on the Grand Prix track. But once we got here onto the real Nordschleife, everything was much improved. So we're going now down into sort of the Hudson-Bach area. This corner here, I suspect in the dry is flat. There's the car trying to kill me, just again out of nowhere. Sort of like the strange snap oversteer. I eventually figured out that it was because I was going into the corner on the brakes. So this specific kind of car does not like trail braking. You got to get your braking done, release the brakes, and then turn in. So that took quite a while to figure out, because I didn't know what was going on. I just kept getting these surprises going into turns, and figured that my trail braking actually wasn't good enough, but it was the other way around. So now we're going up to Flugplatz, and I've overtaken quite a few cars now, but it's mostly, again, just figuring out where the racing lines are. I suspect everyone else is also taking it quite easy. My target here is not to try and win the race, but is instead to complete as many laps as possible, because to get your A permit you first need to do a regular written exam, which is done on a website, multiple choice. Then you go for practical lessons plus a track guide. Then the day before the race you are taken around the racetrack by following an instructor. You drive your race car, and then finally you do the race itself in a BMW or Porsche Cayman, and you have to do 2 races and 18 laps. So however you balance those laps across both races is up to you. To do 18 laps, you're effectively doing an entire VLN race, and it was our target here that I would try and get as many laps done in this specific VLN race, so that we could kind of beg and ask to not do the second VLN race, but that's not what happened. Going down here into the foxhole, super slippery. In the dry it's probably flat again, but in the wet I had no idea what to do with this car. It seems that there was a bunch of cars in front of me as well who were also trying to figure things out. A lot of these guys actually have a ton more experience than me. This was definitely not their first lap around the Nordschleife. Here I have understeer. I almost touched the guy on the right hand side, but luckily no contact. Anyway, in the wet, when you're racing real cars and there's a bit of contact, it's usually not so bad, because when you touch the other car you slide together, which reduces the the cost of the impact. So yeah, back to the permit situation. So I was meant to do as many laps as possible in this race, and then we were going to ask for the second race that I race in a GT3 car, but that is not how things turned out. So I'm going to go back into this car this weekend actually, which is why I wanted to post this video before I went there. I'll be back in this car again, hopefully now with a little bit more muscle memory and experience. I'll be able to do a little bit better job. It's a 6-hour race around the Nordschleife, and yeah, this time I'm looking forward to it because I know what to expect. Here's the miss section of the racetrack. They've just actually resurfaced this part. A lot of the local drivers are a bit upset because it takes away from the experience of the racetrack. I'm starting to make up more places now because I think I've started to build a little bit of tire temperature. The slow outlap really killed any hope of tire temperature, and I didn't even bother trying to warm up the tires on the first bit of the lap because of 20-minute warm-up lap I would get car sick almost. Down the inside here at the BMW, but this corner is super slippery, so I didn't want to overcommit. He's still on my inside, so I tried for the outside, managed to get it done. Exiting Bergwerk or going towards Bergwerk. I'm still trying to memorize all the corners. This little kink left in Gran Turismo is not even a corner, but in real life and in the rain you have no idea where to brake. Braking for this corner, yeah, I think this is Bergwerk. It is so slippery, and it was so easy to lock the brakes. There you go, I'm getting snap oversteer on the exit. Just insane. Going down now to Kesselchen. Again, in the dry and in video games and simulators, this corner here, it's not a corner. But I even had a moment where I came through Kesselchen, and on the exit were yellow flags, but I was blinded by the spray of water, which you don't really see on this lap because the rain is still not bad yet, and I almost crashed on lap 2. So that was a bit of a hard stopping moment, especially when my target is not to drive fast, it's just to do these 18 laps. However, as we get to the carousel, I hear via the radio that the other car that I was meant to do laps in, the Porsche, had crashed. So already on lap 1 I had been notified that I had to stay in the BMW for the next sort of 3.5 hours. But at the time I hadn't done the maths in my head, and I didn't realize that I would actually be doing the entire 4-hour race in one car without any brakes, without any water. I was a little bit unprepared for that because I anticipated getting out of this car, having a sip of water, and then jumping into the Porsche. We're going on to the carousel. It's super bumpy around here. I gotta say that the first time you go through there, it's a bit of a shock as to how bumpy the track is. And then what you don't realize is that line there was not so good. I should have kept a little bit tighter because there's big bumps on the exit which affect the traction. So the next laps I start to get that right. Hoacht now. I think it's the highest point in the track, and what was so strange was your ears actually start to pop as you go up the track and then down the track. So there is quite a bit of altitude, and I kept having to clear my ears. So by the time I got here, everything was really quiet, like I could barely hear the engine and everything, and that's because my ears were blocked. You saw me there just try to see if that fog on the windscreen was actually on the inside or if it was a mark on the outside. I confirmed that it was on the inside. So now I was thinking to myself, besides trying to overtake cars and figure out racing lines, I was trying to figure out where is the demister. Anyway, eventually I found it on about lap 3 and luckily got my vision back. But then it started to rain harder, and there was a white wall of water in front of me from the traffic in front. Here we're in Brühlchen. This is where all the crashes happen. This is where what you see on YouTube. It's super slippery over here. As you could see, I got a little bit of snap oversteer. Again, there's a crash over there, so I think that we're already in a code 60 area, followed by green flag. The rules around here, they have isolated yellow flag zones, so there's not a safety car for the entire track. It depends on the sector that you're in. They'll show you first a yellow flag, then a double waved, then code 60. Going down into Pflanzgarten, the track here was really, at the beginning of this experience, was scary. This is for me the scariest part of the track, down into Bellofessus now. This little dip here, it's so blind, and then your stomach literally like drops out of you as you go down this hill. And this section here is actually meant to be, at least in a GT3 car, it's flat, but in this car you just tap the brakes, roll the car in, and then full gas the whole way through. I couldn't do that yet. I think I need a bit more time, and I need to be racing for something. I need to be racing for positions as opposed to just trying to tick the boxes and do the laps. There again, the BMW is trying to kill me. This happened every single lap in different corners. So I would do a corner, I'd get snap oversteer. I'd do that same corner again the next time, get no oversteer. But then I get to the following corner and would kill me there. Galgenkopf now, again, this is actually where I was consistently getting the snap oversteer on the entry, as you'll see here. Whoopsie. And these walls are so close in real life, and added in with the rain and the slippery conditions, plus not knowing the car, this was an experience I'll never forget. It was around this point here where I was willing to box and just retire from motorsport, but I'm glad I didn't. In the end, I actually managed to complete my 18 laps. There were some moments, as I said, we started around 20th, 24th or 20th, I can't remember, but we finished 5th in class. I did 3 hours and 41 minutes of the entire race. So I was pretty happy in the end. The pace was not amazing, but I managed to survive, and we're going to go back there this weekend, sharing the car with my mate Nick Foster, and try and get our quote-unquote second race done so we can get our A permits, and then I'll be able to announce something pretty cool later in the month. Here into Tiergarten, we're now completing the lap. You'll see here that the car was not finished giving me surprises. I thought I was done. I'd relaxed a little bit, thought I was getting into a flow, and the next thing, boom, just like that, almost hit, got a snap into the wall. Luckily managed to keep it on the track. So we start our second lap and pray that the next 17 laps are not going to be as scary as the first one. Turned out they were much worse, with walls of water, big aquaplaning, a lot of traffic, a lot of crashes, but we made it in one piece. I hope you found this video interesting. I will be posting more onboard commentary videos in the future. Until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next lap.